Mr. Chair, members of the Council, Mark Ruff, Chief Financial Officer for the City and Department Head for Finance and Property Services. So thank you for the opportunity to present our budget today. As some of you are aware, we have restructured our department. We have traditionally had a Deputy CFO. This chart shows the restructuring, which is to have the Deputy CFO in charge of three particular divisions, that being Procurement, Controller, and Treasury. I'm happy to say that our new Deputy CFO will be starting on Monday, October 31st. Her name is Laura Johnson and has a very long background in both finance as a finance director, former head of the Minnesota Government Finance Officers Association, and also as a city manager. We also have important activities related to property services and then generally strategic services, which includes our budget, our data, risk management, and development finance, so I'll talk about in more detail. Overall, we have 252 and a half FTEs. Our change items are related to two specific areas, one in the strategic financial services and the other in property services as well. That is one overview. I know, Mr. Chair, you have asked everybody about staffing, and so I'll address that question up front, which is we have several open positions which are in the process of being hired. I think there is only one position in the Finance and Property Services which is not currently under a search process, and that is more related to development finance. And as Councilmember Palmisano is aware, we've had some audit review of just the loan repayment program, both within CPED, but our department also touches part of that, and it's my hope that we will be in a longer-term plan to deal with that particular issue with that position. But right now, that is the majority of our open positions are being filled, and primarily those are within our controller area and within our procurement area. The core programs, obviously the core of any finance department is accounting and financial reporting. And so the efforts that we undertake just day in and day out is making sure that we're moving money to the place it should be, to work with the state auditor on our annual financial reports. We do prepare quarterly reports, and happy to say that we will have another report to the Ways and Means Committee in November on our third quarter report. In terms of year-to-date in 2016, how the city's doing on both revenues and expenses. And we do work closely with our internal auditor as well on a variety of issues. We are working on cost allocations. This internal service fund, non-general fund revenues is a very important part of how we equitably distribute all of the costs, not just of this building, but of services like the information technology. And we have certainly part of just our financial analysis on a daily basis as well, to make sure that we are working with departments, giving them the services that are necessary. Within that particular area, we have 53 FTEs, and our funding is remaining fairly static. It's going a little bit up in the general fund, but it is going down in the non-general fund. Another important function, even though Public Works oversees the water and sewer stormwater systems, we send out the bills and receive the revenues for those systems. We have over 100,000 individual customer accounts, and we have staff who do a wonderful job of working with residents and with businesses to make sure that all of their questions are answered. A very significant call center that is a part of all of this. The special assessment process, which we just recently went through with the City Council for unpaid bills, to have some of those unpaid bills transferred over to a special assessment to make sure that the city collects the revenues that is billed on a regular basis. And we work certainly with various vendors on making sure that we're collecting the money that we need to be collecting generally. And any part of the city, not just utility, but any part of the city generally that it has unpaid bills does get turned over to our department for collection. We have 38 FTEs within that, and again, our funding is going down in that particular area.
Mr. Ruff, I wonder if you could explain that funding going down. What's the purpose of the reduction? Fewer people?
Generally, it has to do with how we allocate the both the revenues and the personnel for each of these departments. I would say that that is an arbitrary cut because we're not cutting this along divisions, we're cutting it along more services. And so I think that every year when we look at our budget, we're trying to break it into pieces that are more about services than necessarily divisions. And so there isn't one thing that we're doing differently that is cutting our expenses. It's really more about how we're allocating all of the expenses across the department. And Ms. Green could certainly comment on that as well.
Ms. Green?
That's an accurate statement, Councilmember Quincy. Also, if we have any one-time items that would have been included in this particular department, that would have been taken out as well.
Okay. And how does the online payment systems match with the utility billing system? Are we able to save money, or is it? Go ahead.
I think your timing is perfect, Mr. Chair, in terms of one of our performance measures is to look at how we receive utility billing. And this particular chart demonstrates, because we do save money by receiving electronic payments, certainly direct ACHs out of people's bank accounts, automatic withdrawals is our preferred method. Our second preferred method is credit cards, but obviously we're paying fees associated with credit cards. But still, a significant amount of our revenues does come in by cash and by checks. And we are doing everything we can to try to move people to a different form of payment. But many people, on occasion, myself included, pay our bills with checks. And we still have that regular processing. But we're trying to make as many options available to consumers to really make it easier for them and not just cheaper for us. And I think the utility billing department is a very dynamic place in the sense that they are very respondent to customer requests, and we make that a priority within our department as well. The next area that we as a department focus on, which is including how we order, we buy, and we pay for our goods and services. And again, this is not just our department, but the whole enterprise. Our procurement area functions not just for the city, but functions for the park board. And so all procurement process happens within that, those particular folks. We also have an accounts payable process that works closely with procurement. 90,000 invoices a year come through the city of Minneapolis. We are working again to try to streamline that process, not just from an efficiency standpoint, but also time, and that's a continual consideration. Invoices come in a variety, even though we have an electronic system for our invoices, they come in a variety of places. Sometimes they get stuck on different people's desks across City Hall before they make it to our accounts payable area. This, again, was a topic of an internal audit, a very appropriate internal audit, and appreciated the feedback that we had from Mr. Tetzel and his staff on this particular area. This will be a main focus for our Deputy CFO to work through this, but generally by the time it hits our accounts payable staff desks, it's paid within 3 days. So those folks are very efficient about getting money out the door. As we enter into the target market program, where we are trying to work with smaller businesses, we are very cognizant of the fact that we need to pay bills more quickly so they don't have to carry those invoices through some credit facility themselves. So we are going to work through that as a major impact.
I wonder if we could expand a little bit more on the target market program, which the council just recently passed. Obviously, Council Vice President Glidden and myself were very involved in developing that, and that really went across various departments. There's a civil rights component in it. Other big purchasers, including Public Works Department and other departments, were involved in this process. Procurement is the key to it, though. And how did we change our systems and what was the intended outcome of a target market program?
Sure, Mr. Chair. We're very excited about the target market program. We as the city, like many other businesses, are always looking for efficiencies, but sometimes those efficiencies result in only working with large organizations that have systems that are large enough to give us the fastest response, for example, or sometimes using vendors just because we've always used those vendors. And so a target market program is an effort to reach out to smaller businesses based here in the Twin Cities. So the first thing that our procurement staff is going to do that's that is enhancement of services, is reaching out to smaller businesses for them to know that this program is available. This program specifically is the ability of the city to have increasing our $50,000 to $100,000 limit on what we necessarily have to go through the formal procurement process. If we can have a faster process, if we are able to target smaller businesses who have registered under our target market program. So that registration process in this outreach is important to making sure that all the businesses are aware of that. We're also expanding certifications that are eligible for small businesses. And so we are working through other partners around the Twin Cities, other public entities, as well as some private entities. We even had our staff talking to some of the large events organizers that Mr. Johnson talked about. They have their own target market programs, and we're trying to work in cooperation with those folks as well. So the outreach is one important component. 2 is making it easier online for those folks to register. And then 3 is just spreading the information about every time there is some type of service or good that is being requested by a department in the city or from the park board, that we have the vendors who should be notified on a timely basis so they can give us their best possible prices. Mm-hmm. So that program, we're very much looking forward to implementing starting in 2017. It will require more intensity from our procurement department, both in staff and then also IT improvements that are in the pipeline.
It'll also involve the Civil Rights Department as well as the Economic Development Department of CPED, because we want more local businesses to participate in this process. And that's really an economic development activity as well as it is just changing how the city buys. It's a continuation of our supplier diversity goals that we've been working on. Having more people involved in the process is one thing, but the fact that it's going to make it easier for our own departments to make selections, to go to reliable vendors, to expand their reach would be really important as well. And I know that there's a web portal that's being developed from an IT perspective to help make it easier for not only companies to participate in the program, but also for our department heads and procurement systems to make those matches more quickly.
Mr. Chair, I think on this area of procurement, and also our accounts payable, this is 37 people, again funded by internal service fund as well as general fund sources. This metric that we've been tracking for a while, we like to demonstrate what we're doing really well as a department, and then there's other areas where we still need improvement, and we've talked about this particular graph earlier in the presentation, which is the average number of days to pay an invoice. It is, in my mind, still not an acceptable level for the city to be still at a month of an average to pay an invoice. We are not intentionally holding those invoices. It is just a matter of really increasing our own internal efficiencies and communications among departments. Sometimes, though, I will say that there are times where there are contracts that are reaching their maximums that we have to do a fair amount of administrative work just to verify that we still have adequate contract amounts. And if we get a surprise about how much a vendor is billing us for a particular contract that's ahead of what we had anticipated, we may need to come back to council for some additional authority for that contract. And so there are oftentimes legitimate just process reasons why we are not able to meet as quick turnaround as we would like. But other times we certainly take it upon ourselves to work with departments to really speed this up. And hopefully next year we'll be able to show you even though this has been trending down gradually, we'd like to be able to see a significant decline in the number of days before for next particular budget season.
Mr. Ruff, just a quick question on that slide, if you could go back one. The 30 days, 29 days, 31 days, how is that determined if we don't know if it's been sitting on someone's desk? Is it when the vendor sent it? Because is it received in one spot, or is it?
Sure, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I think technically the demarcation is the date of the invoice.
I see.
Is what the starting point. So as you may know, some vendors also have a practice of either dating their invoices once a month, but they maybe not send it out for a couple more weeks after they date the invoices. So, there's certainly some room for interpretation on that process as well. But that's my understanding is the date of the invoice.
Small question. Thank you.
Another important part of the city is investing our cash and then knowing what our accounts receivables are. The city has, and this is timely from the standpoint, we'll be coming to Ways and Means Committee on Monday to talk about a change in our investment policy, but the city has had a philosophy over the last several years of very short-term investments, and part of the reason for that is because we've been waiting for interest rates to go up when we could go further out on the investment ladder or the yield curve and see some increasing benefits to the city long-term. As we start to see interest rates slowly begin to creep up, we'll be coming to Ways and Means on Monday with a recommendation to increase the potential term of our investments. But we do keep safety as the preeminent concern for these particular resources. So I think that will continue after that change in the investment policy, but I think that clearly this area of how we take care of our cash is of great concern to the citizens, and we want you to know that we take that very seriously. There are just a couple of slides in terms of this is not a significant number full-time of this cash management and receivable, but it is, as I said, a significant dollar amount. And there are some graphics that we use in terms of investment of cash management and receivables that are another indicator of what we are constantly looking at ourselves in terms of how efficient are we in our billing process. Mr. Chair, if I can skip ahead to a change item, I see that the mayor has arrived, and I do have an important part of one of our change items related to a particular program that I know she wanted to address specifically, and that is under our strategic financial services, and that's related to collaborative safety. So if you're comfortable, I'd turn
very comfortable with that. Thank you very much, Mr. Ruff, for allowing that little change within it. Madam Mayor, what a pleasure it is to see you here in this committee. And this is a change order that I think is really appropriate for yourself to address rather than Mr. Ruff. So perhaps if you could explain a little bit why it's in the finance section of the budget, I would appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chair and Councilmember Palmisano, and thank you for letting me speak in your committee today and speak to this item in specific. And what I can do is give a little context, first about why I'm here in person, context about why this item is in the budget at all, and then what is the item in the budget in specific. I wanted to speak to this myself today for a couple reasons. First, it's an item that's about public safety, and although it's in the finance department budget, it's about public safety, and I didn't want to ask Mr. Ruff to present on that initiative per se, and because it's a great investment that deserves attention. This is one of the things in the budget that we know it's a pretty innovative thing in the budget that is getting a lot of attention, and I think it deserves the attention that it's getting. And the context for it is that we are building the police department that we all want, one that is based on 21st century policing, one that is about policing for the 21st century, giving our officers the time that they need to spend building relationships in the community rather than race from 911 call to 911 call. They can actually build some relationships in the community, stay longer at calls, or not have to be 911 call responders in that moment at all and be in the community doing some other kinds of work. It includes giving our officers the tools that they need to respond to a wide range of safety needs across a wide range of communities, building a new approach to responding to community members in mental health crises, ensuring transparency and accountability through efforts like the body camera program, which will be fully rolled out by the end of this fall, and CIT training, implicit bias training, and early intervention system. These are all things that are in this budget, in previous budgets, and they are core to making sure we have a police department for the 21st century. We also know that our communities are asking for more say in and more responsibility for intervening in crime and making sure that their neighborhoods are safer. That is something that I think all of us have heard from various folks who have come to speak with us in various ways. And we also know that those kinds of approaches can be incredibly successful. that law enforcement has a set of tools for crime reduction, but they are not all the tools for crime reduction, and they will only get you so far. And that community-oriented and collaborative strategies with the community can actually enhance your public safety and make your city even safer than if you were just using law enforcement-only tools. Many models have been built in other cities applying a community-driven approach to public safety. There are a couple of them, key ones that are in the budget that is before you. The group violence intervention strategy. We know that works to reduce violent crime in particular. It's been incredibly successful in other places, but it is community driven. It is a community driven response. What hasn't been done anywhere is giving communities themselves a direct voice in partnership about what strategies to use that will work best in the community that they know best. So what is proposed in this budget are dollars to be apportioned between two communities focused around concentrations of youth violent crime. We know one of the things we're good at in the city of Minneapolis is data about crime and where the crime is concentrated in our cities. And two of the key places that youth crime and especially youth violent crime has been concentrated have been along West Broadway and in and around Little Earth communities in South Minneapolis. And within each of these targeted geographic areas, what I propose is that residents, business owners, and the organizations that serve them will be asked to come together to propose strategies to apply to reduce crime within that area, directly, downstream kinds of strategies about direct intervention. Of course we need great education and jobs, and those are strategies that we know if we were to reduce those inequities, we would have an impact on our numbers regarding crime and violent crime that we would like. But we also know that strategies a little further downstream, for GVI as an example of one of these strategies, group violence intervention, having leaders from the community sit down with people that we know are committing violent crime and saying, we will support you if you choose to turn your life around, and if you do not choose to turn your life around, we will hold you accountable. There's any number of strategies that could be pursued, and within each of these targeted areas, what I have proposed is that we let folks come together and decide which strategies they think will work best in their communities for them to apply to reduce crime in their own neighborhoods. So we need to, as I said, we need to address jobs and education, and we are addressing things. Look at the last 3 budgets that you have voted for, that we have had in front of us. But this is about the short-term need for a response to crime that is occurring today. I will note that there's $500,000 in the budget set aside that I propose for communities to make decisions about how to use. But there are other resources that are brought to bear here as well, including Cities United providing technical assistance. They are a national organization that that brings mayors from cities together to talk about how do we reduce violent crime among young men and young men of color in specific. And yesterday I met with Anthony Smith and his team to talk through what their generous commitment to providing technical assistance for this program can look like. And what it means is they can provide facilitation, they can provide logistical support, they can bring best practice knowledge from the work they do with dozens of cities across the country. They can help the community. As someone from the outside that, is just interested in helping things go better in the community, can come in and help facilitate a process, understanding that it's goal-driven, that there's time sensitivity to it. We want to make sure that people are driving toward an agreed-upon strategy or set of strategies to invest in for crime reduction. And I'm really appreciative to Cities United for their willingness to help out in this way. But this is overall what this strategy is. The reason that it's housed in the finance department is because that is a holding place for the dollars, and finance has the most tools at its disposal to know the best ways to disperse those dollars depending on what strategies are chosen. But in the end, it's an investment in community that is truly an investment in public safety.
Very good. If I may interrupt, I have just a quick question. How would the neighborhood associations, or in the case of Little Earth, how would that community be able to engage in this process beyond the structure that you just outlined? I mean, is there neighborhood resources that could be brought to bear? Or some of these resources applied to neighborhood initiatives down the road?
Mr. Chair, Councilmember Palmisano, if I understand your question correctly, I can answer it in two different ways. One, folks in the neighborhood will be able to be involved. That's part of what the technical assistance is for, helping us bring people together in a positive way that can be successful for people to make those decisions. If the community finds ways to leverage other investment to enhance the investment in whatever strategies they choose, if they choose to go to their neighborhood organization, if there's other corporate or foundation funding that they say, this strategy is great, we want to use some of the city dollars for this, and we're going to ask our neighborhood organization to fund this piece of it or to partner in this way, that is one of the things that I hope actually will come from this, is to leverage the city's investment with other folks coming together on behalf of collaborative strategies for public safety.
Thank you. Councilmember Palmisano had a quick question. Or maybe not quick. I don't know.
It's quick. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm curious, as I see how we will be choosing these, the residents will be choosing what strategies we use. Will there be a study over time? Will there be a way to study over time if that particular strategy worked to consider it for future ongoing funding?
Mr. Chair, Councilmember Palmisano, one of the things I hope from this, and it's a conversation I've been having with the University of Minnesota, but there may be other institutions as well, is overall having some social science research done on the strategies that we choose on any number of challenges that we're facing. But especially here, one of the values will be nationwide. If there is an innovative strategy, or if there is a strategy that's been tried elsewhere and we want to know how it works here, for any of those, I think it would be imperative to make sure that we are doing an assessment ahead of time and then an assessment during and after to see, is it effective? If so, to what degree? And if not, what was it that we think didn't work? So other folks around the country can know.
Excellent question, because I was thinking similar. If it's successful, if it works, or if it doesn't work, it's a lesson learned. It's something we can apply not just to other neighborhoods within Minneapolis or in these same neighborhoods and continuing efforts, but we can share with a more national audience, because everybody's looking for solutions, and the only way we're going to get there is if we share good ideas or problems to avoid.
Mr. Chair, Councilmember Palmisano, I agree with you wholeheartedly, and this is one area where the community has been asking for and craving innovation. There is no way to have a culture of innovation in your city or in any organization without the willingness to try things that you don't know for sure if they will work or not. Of course, there will be best practices in front of people, but there will also be new ideas. And frankly, for something like public safety, for something where we are trying to chart, we are doing our best to chart a new course of police, of community relationship with law enforcement, and chart a new course in terms of public safety and using all the tools at our disposal, we're going to have to innovate, and we're going to have to take the risk that some of the things we try don't work. But we know that there are limits to the things that we are doing. We know that there are things that we are doing that are not fully solving the problem, and we're going to have to look to things that haven't been done before if we're going to get results that we haven't gotten before.
Thank you very much. I didn't mean to cut you off with our questions, but we were interested in it.
Nope. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That actually was the end of my presentation.
Well, thank you very much for your comments. It's a pleasure to see you here. It's obviously a very important initiative that you're bringing forward, and we're excited to consider it. And I think it's remarkable, innovative, and something that we hope that we can replicate and give it some legs well beyond the 2017 budget. So thank you, Mayor, for joining us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much, Councilmember Palmisano. Have a great rest of your afternoon.
Thank you. Mr. Ruff, you're welcome back to go ahead and
Mr.
talk
Chair,
about the rest
I'm
of your
under no
stuff.
illusions. The rest of this is a letdown. I understand completely.
We're going to get through it anyway, right?
You know, we're going to get through it because as we talked about before, it's part of the process, right? So I will just highlight in the sense of other important functions, and I like to talk about our department. I think we have a wonderful group of people, and I'm very, very proud of this department. One particular area is is we pay 5,000 to 7,000 people every other week in the city. Again, not just the city, but the park board and our various different non-city entities that work with us, and including MBC and Youth Coordinating Board. And so, the fact that we do that with just 16 FTEs, I just want to, when we talk about efficiencies, I think that's pretty remarkable that we have that kind of department that is a very stressful job if you think about all of the different contracts we have within the city and adjustments we have to make every time we pass a new contract and back pay. And so I just want to congratulate those people that really are not often seen, and most people don't often get compliments. I just want to draw that out as something that I would highlight as something that city does very well. Another important area is risk management. As we have our own self-insurance fund, and that risk management is the area that oversees the disbursement of the funds within that self-insurance fund. It's primarily related to tort liability as well as workman's comp claims. We have 9 people within that area. Funding is pretty stable, going up slightly from the non-general fund. You can see that our general liability claims have gone down from a high in 2014. Our workman's comp is going up slightly, and so certainly areas for us to be watching. And I know that Ellen and her staff are always carefully overseeing any claims that come through and make sure that they are good stewards of the public dollars. Within strategic financial services, again, this is the area that deals not just with new programs, as the mayor highlighted, but also within overseeing our debt with our budget process, so ably overseen by Ms. Green in the room today, and then development finance as well, working with CPED on a regular basis to see good things happen on economic development, redevelopment, and affordable housing within the city. We have 19 people within that area. We also have a couple of change items. One ongoing includes the only FTE increase that we're asking for, and this is $100,000 for a specific person within the Ms. Green's area and the budget area to oversee CPED budget. It is clearly a complex area of financing of development projects. We've had some staff turnover, and we'll continue to have some staff turnover in that area. People who have been with the city for decades, and this is a very important part of making sure we have the right money in the right place at the right time, is a phrase that is used within our department. The other is an exciting new program that, even though it's not a big dollar amount, it's $50,000. It is a participatory budget process. We talked earlier about CLIC. CLIC is one form of a participatory budget, which is to have an advisory group make recommendations to the mayor and ultimately the city council on how to invest our capital items. This is a program that started in Brazil in 1989. It's now being used by 1,500 different public budgets around the world, several in the United States. And it's not just giving citizens a role as an advisory board, but actually giving them the authority to decide a portion of the budget, how it should be used. And so, for example, is there a grant program that is regular, either from the federal government or the state government, that is defined, and could a citizen group, could a representative group, through some kind of engagement process, which is part of the purpose of this money, is to explore this opportunity and use it really as a expansion of what is already a very inclusive budget process for the city of Minneapolis. I would say, having come from a place where I observed a number of different cities across the nation, I think Minneapolis already has one of the most broad public participation processes when you think about our neighborhood groups with the CLIC, the variety of other groups that give you as a city council and the mayor advice on how to use our money. This is taking it to another level. And so I think that in one way it is brand new, and in another way it's going back to the way democracy in the United States oftentimes started, which is the old town hall kind of idea of people getting together and deciding how the resources should be used. So we also have within our department radio and communications electronics. We install in the city vehicles, including public safety vehicles, the radio systems. We run all our cell phones through this area, and so a very important part of our work as well. Again, stable funding sources within this particular area. Last but not least is also a very key part of our department, and that's operating all facilities within the city, including all the public works, public safety, city leased as well as city owned facilities. We have almost 60 people within this area. We do have one small change item for this particular area, and it's really related to the city-owned buildings, kitty corner from City Hall, the Public Service Center, and the City of Lakes buildings, which is we're just seeing more and more need of just private security services. We just have some disturbances that come through that building. People are either confused or angry, and it's something that having somebody who can redirect some of that energy and is experienced in it rather than relying on our staff is it's been a requested from just really keeping our employees healthy. And I think that that's money well spent, and certainly is something that we will expand the hours to make sure that we adequately cover that facility. Also, an important part of our facilities is energy. We have a goal, obviously, of reducing greenhouse gases, carbon emissions within the city, and we are continuing to see a march downward, which is a good thing in terms of the use of our carbon, or potentially not just the use, but our carbon footprint. And so we measure that in a variety of ways, including different types of fuels that the city facilities is using. We will continue this, and certainly with the city's efforts in Clean Energy Partnership, be working heavily in endeavors with the Sustainability Office as well to continue to improve this. As we build new facilities, we will continue to always look at the opportunities for LEED certification and other energy improvement and demand side efficiencies. We have the MBC, the City Hall, the Municipal Building Commission. The funding comes through our department for that as well as part of the Internal Service Fund. That's $5.2 million, a slight increase of approximately $200,000 from 2016. And then lastly, just Mr. Dahl mentioned the ERP, our Comet system, which is the bread and butter for our IT, for finance and HR. We have a support system for HR and finance out of our office as well. They sit right outside of my office, actually, on the phone supporting those users of that particular system. Again, a very stable funding as well. So with that, Mr. Chair, I think outside of the mayor's exciting new area, it's pretty much as is for the finance department. We like to be good role models and not ask for a whole lot of new money, but I can tell you that we are doing some great innovative things and appreciate the challenges that you as policymakers have given us to continually improve.
Well, I thank you very much, Mr. Ruff, for the presentation, for the work that the department does on a daily basis. And we're looking forward to some new faces. As you mentioned, we have a new deputy chief finance officer position starting very quickly, as well as a new treasurer position, or how we're going to adapt to that position since Mr. Plant has left the city's employment. So thank you very much. Look forward to that. Mr. Kronk.
Just a quick note, Chair Quincy and council member, thank you so much for the opportunity to present all the different areas that touch the city coordinator today. It was a long day, full of a lot of information, but it is an honor and pleasure to serve and work with the incredible people that you saw today present before you. So thanks again.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kronk. I think that concludes our day today. We are next, our next budget subcommittee meeting will be on department budget presentations on November 3rd, and that's beginning at 9:30 in the morning, when we'll be taking up the Civil Rights Department, Youth Coordinating Board, and the Municipal Building Commission. In the afternoon, we'll be talking about and hearing from the Park Board, which is which should be a long session because it's covering a lot of very important topics. And then we can begin our public comment on the tax levy and proposed budget on November 30th, followed by budget markup on December 2nd, and final adoption and final public hearing of the year, which will be on December 7th. So that is the balance of the budget subcommittee's work. Thank you very much for today, and we look forward to the next time. We're adjourned.